Mr. Worldwide.
I'm happy to have a dear friend and a brother on Global Brothers podcast.
Yeah, man.
Brother,
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Welcome, man.
How are you, man?
You're in the big chair now, brother.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure, but some big shoes to fill. I told you guys, I've been watching pretty much every episode.
That's what's up, man. We appreciate that.
Yep.
We call people like him an investor, not a follower.
Right.
An investor.
Because time is the most valuable investment you can make.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
I spend your time.
Also,
Absolutely,
getting
brother.
on, and shout out to all the guests prior to you, getting on at the elevator floor. When we're growing and we're trying to promote live and prosper and live and go and prosper. It's one of the best.
Yeah, it's good to get in now because when it gets to where it's going to get to, I'll be like, hey.
You won't be invited.
I get to say that I was there.
Right.
I was a tiny part of it.
That's when we're going to have a booking agent.
Right.
It's like, no, you can't invite your friends no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Or we just tell you, talk to my booking agent.
Yeah. Go through my guy.
Right.
I understand how it is, man. That's cool.
Wow, so a lot's happened, man, in your 5-6 years here.
4.5.
4.5?
4.5. I came here right after you.
That's right.
A few months after.
Okay.
4.5 years. August 2015
Right.
is when it started.
Bring us up to speed, for the audience, and of course for myself as well, because you guys worked at the same school together.
Yes.
So for the audience, bring us up to speed in terms of how you decided to go global. Where were you coming from?
To be honest, I'm born and raised in Vancouver, BC, Canada.
Van City.
Yes.
Van City,
There's a lot
yeah.
of snow there right now, so I'm not really missing that.
Right.
But beautiful city. But so I've been teaching since 2006, and there's always issues in terms of strikes and different things that go on in Vancouver.
All the time.
Yeah, I mean it's just like anywhere else. But I remember it was my third strike that I had to go through.
Right.
Living back home, no pun intended.
Like full-on picketing.
Yeah, literally. Remember my picketing story? We're not going to share that today. Literally holding the sign and going on the street and people honking at you. Some people in support, some people just giving the middle finger.
Get back to work.
Yeah.
My kid needs to learn.
I was just like, you know what? So after the third strike, I was just like, you know what? I think I got to do something different. Right. I mean, I still wanted to teach. I still wanted to be involved in education, but I just thought, maybe it's time to explore something different. Like while there's this, uncertainty and job security with stuff back home, I'm like, I was 31, 32 at the time. I'm like, let me just try something different. So I just went home and I typed into Google. I said teaching in Dubai.
Really?
Click. Yeah, that's how it started.
Amazing.
And then a few months later, I was here teaching with you.
So Dubai was already on your radar for some reason. Did you have?
Well, sort of. I mean, we had some family friends who moved from Vancouver to here in 2005, I think.
Okay, I remember.
And they're really close to my parents. And when I finished with my education in 2006, my parents were in contact with them. They're like, "Oh, just move out to Dubai." I'd never heard of Dubai. I didn't even know what the UAE was. I heard of Saudi, I heard of Kuwait, and all those other countries in this area, but I had no clue about the UAE, and I had no clue what Dubai was.
Yeah.
And I was just like, man, you moving out there? What am I going to do out there?
Right.
You sort of believe the stereotypical
did you have
stuff.
the Islamophobia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. I was
the
just
hype.
like, man, I want to move out
And
there.
everybody else heard of it, so they're questioning your move, right?
Right. I'm like, I don't want to move out there. So I just sort of ignored it for, I guess, 9 years. But when I was serious about moving away, actually, one of the motivators to moving away, or some of that sort of made me feel more at ease with the idea of leaving Vancouver, was my sister. You met my sister. Right. She moved to Australia. I think she started in New Zealand. I think. I don't remember. But she lived abroad in Australia. New Zealand
Hey, shout out to
for 5
Joy,
years.
man. Because that's how it starts. When we wrote the book Going Global, my special thanks at the end was 2 guys who went global.
Yeah.
So sometimes it takes someone to go and do it for you to say, I can do that too.
I can do it too. And she did a really good job of it, and she built her business, and she's doing her photography and her clothing line. So
Clothing line's dope.
I was just like, man, I might as well. I had literally nothing to lose. So here I am.
To feel like you're a bridge is what we're all about as well. That's what Global Brothers Podcast is about, to inspire people to see that it can be done. It's not just something people talk about, or, oh yeah, they it, but I don't know them.
Right.
You know, for instance.
Yeah.
Like, the more people can see someone is like them, just, I want to say you're an average person, even though we're not average anyway. You know what I mean? So it's not to demean anyone else out there, but you do have to be extraordinary as well to step out on
Yeah.
faith.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much 90% of it. The rest is paperwork.
Right.
You know what I mean? You just have to, I don't know, just make it up in your mind that, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And that's pretty much how I've been, like, my whole life.
Yeah.
My mom will sort of, you know, she kind of used to not just, like, criticize me, but be like, you know, you need to be more, just live on, you know, faith and just make decisions. Like, I was always the person that, okay, I need to have this in order first, I gotta make sure my finances are set, and then I can make this decision, or then I can do this, or then I can do that. She's like, no, just make a decision and
go with
do it. So that's pretty much that was my thought process when I was thinking about leaving Vancouver.
That's interesting. When you knew about Dubai 9 years prior,
Yeah.
not me.
Yeah.
I found out about it 2 years before I got over there.
Wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I was thinking, because we've heard this before, he's one of them, by the way. The early birds who get here have a much better experience.
That's what I heard.
Have you heard that?
Education.
You've been here so long, you probably haven't heard that. Those who got here in the late 90s, early 2000s, even the mid 2000s, had a much better opportunity than now.
Yes,
you've
absolutely
seen
true.
that.
Absolutely true. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, economically and everything else,
Yeah.
things are very topsy turvy, if I can use that term. Like now, you know, like it's very unsure. But I mean, again, these are the things that helps us to see as well that home is in your head once you've stepped out.
Right.
You know, from the States, Canada, the UK, you know, et cetera. Like now, you really are just like going on adrenaline.
Right.
And like, keep going. That's what we always say, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of how it is for me. Like, there's been a lot of bumps in the road. Like, you and I have experienced that, like, personally, when we were working together. And you know, the first school we started at, and it's like, I don't know, I've thought about many times, like, okay, maybe it's time to go home, maybe it's time to go to a different country. But, I mean, there's still so many positive aspects of being out here. And, you know, to be honest, like, I can go home at any time, right? And I haven't had any experience here that it's like, okay, this is it. Like, I can't bounce back from this, right? Any sort of setback, any sort of letdown I've had from here, I'd be like, okay, well, what's next? I can just move on to the next thing. So
It also makes you more resilient,
yeah,
you know, and able to handle things. I mean, you figure the things that you dealt with in Vancouver with the
Right.
strikes, if you dealt with something similar here, like losing a job or having to change and look for a job in this region.
right. Well, you don't strike here.
Exactly.
You don't strike here. You know what I mean? And like I keep in contact with a good buddy of mine back home that's at the school I used to teach at. And I was like, man, like a lot of the problems that we had in Vancouver are just like, I don't want to say they're trivial because this is, you know, the livelihood for some people, but like going on strike, for example, in Vancouver, you can do that. Here, it's just like, no. I was like, all right,
No grievances?
No grievances, no like lawsuits and stuff like that. I mean, and it makes things kind of like it's literally black and white. It's very simple. It's like, okay, it's going to be this way or it's going to be
You know what it is.
this way. I mean, there's pros and cons to it, but you know what you're getting for the most part. You know when it comes to things out here.
Right.
That's interesting. So now, your teaching experience from Vancouver to here, what's it like, or what has it been like to transfer your knowledge from there to here?
To be honest,
Like how easy was that transition?
it wasn't that difficult. I mean, in terms of the school setting, and I guess the difference is just culture and traditions and different things that they have out here. I went from teaching boys and girls from grade 8 to 12 to just teaching at an all-boys school, all-male staff.
But you also taught English.
Yeah, I was teaching English. I was teaching English here for the first 3 years, after teaching pretty much PE for the last 9 years back at home. So
That only because you speak English? And they said, you know what?
no, I have an English.
Okay.
I got a bachelor's in English.
He'd be perfect for our English class.
Yeah, no, I got a bachelor's in English, but a lot of people don't know. They're like, oh, you studied sports, you played basketball, you did this, you did that. So,
Right.
I mean, yeah, I studied English at at Simon Fraser University. Shout out SFU back in the day.
Yeah.
And then another bachelor's in education with a PE focus, a minor essentially.
Right.
Yeah.
And what do you find like your time like here? Because growing up in Vancouver, I'm sure that you have such a support system there, and now you're here, and like teachers get so much free time.
Yeah.
How do you spend your free time in a new environment?
That was the biggest thing, because I mean, financially, like moving out here, it's very, I don't want to say lucrative, but it's very what's the word?
Yeah, freedom.
Yeah, it's very.
Yeah.
It's a big perk to the job.
Right, perk, yeah.
So you're working like half the hours and getting almost double pay, at least in my situation. So like when we were living in LA for 3 years, like I had a lot of spare time.
Right.
And I was just trying to fill it with different activities. I got in really good shape, changed my diet.
Right.
I just did, a few
You
hobbies
partied a lot
here
too.
and
Huh?
He wasn't. Are we gonna edit this?
I wasn't with him.
Thailand before? No? Okay, I just recall.
Mute, edit.
Yeah, I mean, I had some fun. I mean,
Right.
this is literally the first time in my life just moving out here where at the end of the month,
Right.
there was still a little bit of money in
Surplus
my
a
bank
bit.
account.
Right.
I'd never had that before.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, like after the first couple months of living out here, we went to Thailand. I flew my brother out here. We went to Thailand, had a good time,
Right.
and I'd never ever been able to do that in my life. So that was a huge like like family moment.
So what other places have you traveled? Tell us about the experience, because you just opened up the fact that we spent 10 days in Thailand, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't hurt our pockets too much, right? We had a
Just
great time.
Physically hurt me. My body was done after day 7, I think it was.
Yeah, I have photos, so video and everything.
Yeah.
No,
Delete that.
but you've been to Prague, a couple
Yeah,
other
I
places,
went to
right?
Prague, I went to Armenia, but to be honest, the best, I really wouldn't even call it a vacation. I call it more of like a life-altering journey,
I
I
know where you're
guess.
going.
You know what I'm talking about. I went to Nigeria in 2017 for the first time ever. Yes, sir.
Nigeria. Okay.
I'll take responsibility for that.
Yeah, to be honest, you deserve credit for that. And then a good buddy of mine from back home, Marcel. You met him as well. They
Yeah,
came out here in
Marcel.
2018.
Shout out to Marcel.
Yeah, these guys were just on me every day, but you gotta go to Nigeria, you gotta go to Nigeria. And I wanted to. It's something I wanted to do since I was young, but like, I was like, well, where do I go? Like,
Right.
I got family there, but how do I contact them? I don't know anybody
We live
here.
outside of Lagos.
Yeah, and it's just like, there was, I mean, I could be honest here, it was a fear of just going there. I didn't know what to expect. Because I remember growing up as a kid, like, as a black Nigerian kid of immigrant parents in Vancouver, Canada, nobody looks like me. I don't speak the language. And I remember, like, we go to all the Nigerian parties and all the Nigerian get-togethers. Aunties and uncles would speak to us in Igbo, knowing that we couldn't speak. And then they'd be like, why can't you speak? I'm like, bro, like, y'all never taught me how to speak. So I'm like, it sort of created, like, a bit of, like, fear or uncertainty, or like, I'm not, like, Nigerian enough to go to Nigeria.
Wow.
They're gonna just kind of call me out, and it was just a very uncomfortable conversation.
Question.
Yeah,
Interesting.
at the time.
Okay.
Now it's not.
Prior to going to Nigeria, living in Dubai,
Yes.
UAE,
Yeah.
a lot of Nigerians here.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel that way somewhat interacting with Nigerians here? Like, do they know I'm not from there? You know,
Yeah,
that
I
kind
mean,
of
I think
angst?
that, well, personally, I think maybe it's just me. I feel they can, like, see me coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
Like, smell me coming, okay. We can tell he's Nigerian, like, but he's, like, not
Right.
Nigerian.
Nigerian. Not you gonna say that. Nigerian.
Kind of felt it. They'd be like, oh, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Canada. Where are you from? I'm like, yeah, I know, I'm from Nigeria. But I've changed that now. Remember, we had that conversation. I'm like, yeah, I'm Nigerian, but I was born in Canada.
Yeah.
So,
I
I got a
I feel-
passport now, too.
Oh, dope. Nigerian passport.
Yeah, man. When
that's
you
what's
went,
up.
I
Took me
was
24 hours.
and $10,000, right?
Amazing.
24 hours. Yeah.
Amazing. Would you have like an arranged marriage or something?
No.
What was it?
No, listen, you're gonna have to edit that out, because that stuff, she'd be like, you see?
He did. Do it.
I was like, oh, I don't know.
Nice girl.
No, so when I went in 2017, it took my dad had some really, really close friends, aunts and uncles when we were out there.
Yeah.
By the time I landed in Dubai, there was already on my WhatsApp of like, oh, this is a girl from the church. Her name is
Right.
Patience. She's a church leader. She's available. She's a medical doctor. They're like, what are you waiting for? You know, you got this. Anyways, but yeah, that's a whole different.
Hey, shout out to Patience.
Yeah, yeah. She's out there somewhere.
She's patient.
Right, wait.
I don't know. I think she's still waiting, but I don't know.
Wow. Okay.
Man, I love that, man.
You've been back.
I went back this past June. I really just dropped in for about 72 hours.
Okay.
On my family, they had no clue I was coming.
Nice.
I had a good opportunity with a friend of mine, and was able to fly out there for pretty cheap. And it was, man, it's, you know what? Whenever I go to Nigeria, it's only been twice now. But like seeing my mom's, like when I first went there, I saw like my cousins,
Right.
my actual blood cousins, related by DNA for the first time ever in my life. I was what, 35, I guess. And like my mom has two younger sisters, and they look exactly like my mom. Like for the first like 20 minutes after seeing my auntie Uda, I was just like, I couldn't stop like touching her and be like,
Right.
like grabbing her face. I'm like, you look exactly like my mom.
awesome.
I don't even hear her voice. I've seen
Before,
one
yeah.
of her pictures in my whole life, and I was just like,
Emotional as heck.
bro, I cried. I was there for I think 18
I
days.
can only imagine.
I didn't get a little emotional now. I was just like,
Yeah.
I was just like in tears the whole time.
Wow.
Because in my mom's family, there's still a lot of family, my cousins, my aunts, my uncles. But on my dad's side, there's still only a few family members left. My auntie, who still lives there, she's 80-something years old. And we're at the compound where my dad grew up in the village.
I remember the pictures of the school, man.
Yeah, it was insane. And so we're there for a couple of days, and I kept wondering, who's uncle over there? What's his name again? He's like, oh, this is Uncle so-and-so. And I'm like, how is he? He's like, no, that's your uncle. He's like, that's my brother, like from my dad's side.
Okay.
My dad's cousin. I was like, oh, so we're like related. He's like, yeah, that's like by blood, DNA. And I'd met him I was there for 3 days, but I didn't know the actual connection. I thought either he was just working or he was a friend of the family.
Did you feel like you had lost time?
No. I think it happened at the right time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not sure how I would have reacted to that, knowing that I was going back to Vancouver with those experiences. But coming back here, already taking that leap of moving out here, Nigeria was the next step.
Right.
I told him, I don't know how many times I said, because I remember I think you went to Morocco and a couple other places. I'm like, I'd love to go with you. I said, I'm not stepping foot in Africa unless I go to Nigeria first.
Respect.
That's
So that was my first trip to any African country.
It's like repatriation, man.
It is.
It's real for you,
and it's crazy just going there and seeing. I think
He said he saw me like 8 times.
I saw you every day. I saw you too. You're all over Nigeria.
I'm out there.
There's about 79 LeBron James in Ghana.
Everywhere.
In Ghana.
Yeah.
That's
I
hilarious.
kept seeing LeBron. I was like, this is crazy.
Honestly, man, it's just like beautiful people.
Right.
Yeah.
It is insane, and it's just like the best travel experience, the best life experience, one of the best life experiences I've ever had in my life. No question.
What comes up over and over again in our conversations about Africa is going back for the first time.
Yeah.
Because you like feel that connection of like, wow, I feel like I've been here before. Did you kind of get that when you were?
To be honest, like once I stepped off the plane
Yeah.
and like the heat hits you and like the smells and the
Yeah,
people and
yeah,
everything
yeah,
you see,
yeah.
I was just like, yeah.
This is it.
Because even on the plane, I wasn't nervous about anything, but I just really didn't know what to expect. And then I get off the plane, I'm looking around, it's sunny in the middle of December, and then my young cousins, who I've only seen pictures of when they were like 4 or 5, 6, come running up to me like they've met me before.
Love was there.
I was just like, instantly, straight off the plane, that's my
That's
dad.
dope.
It was just like,
Hey man, that's beautiful, man.
yeah, man, it was, again, the best experience.
Yeah.
Just meeting them and seeing that, we're in touch today.
Yeah.
It was WhatsApp me. Brother, how you doing?
And they want to see you come back often, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
How long was the flight? Was it
About six and a half from here.
6.5 hours.
Direct straight to Lagos.
Man, beautiful story.
To segue that a little bit, I know that there's probably so many people with that same life experience that have either an African background, but just haven't been back, or have never been.
Right.
What would you say to those people that are still living in the diaspora and like listening to mass media just on like the what they tell us about Africa?
Right. You gotta you got to put your feet on the ground. You got to go see it for yourself and experience it for yourself, right? I mean, it's kind of the same thing that I did moving out here. I had my reservations about Dubai and this area and that area, but I was like, you know, I just got to do it. Take that leap and just go.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the issues with, you know, people in diaspora, like a lot of people just don't know where they're from.
Yeah.
Like I was very lucky. My full name is Emmanuel Chukwuemeka Unaegbu.
Right.
That's top 2 Nigerian name in the world. Like it's like as Nigerian as it gets. So I always knew growing up exactly where I was from, tribe, lineage, exactly where you can point on a map and be like, this is exactly where we need to go, right, to get to be
home,
to be home, right, to feel, you know, complete. So I was very lucky in that sense. But again, like we just talked about, I still had my, you know, reservations about going to Nigeria, about not being Nigerian enough. But it was, it was. I mean, again, to a round way of answering your question is just that you just have to go.
Okay.
I don't know any other way to.
So that sounds easy.
Right.
But tying in to what he said, I want you to go deeper about the respect, though. What if you don't? What if you're so westernized, and you could be a first-generation immigrant, right, in the West? What if you're so westernized that you don't look at it as a destination that we even want to go? Like, what would you tell the people who look, you know, they've been programmed to not even want to go?
Yeah, I mean, and I think I can admit that I think I kind of used to be there in a sense. Maybe when I was a little bit younger. Yeah. Because it was a fear thing, an ego thing. Like you're out there living in Canada in very, very comfortable conditions. You're turning on the TV, you're seeing people who look like you from a country where you're from, living in whatever, you know, dire means or whatever.
Squalid condition.
Even though that's not necessarily the case.
Exactly.
Again, you have to go there and see it. Yeah, but I mean, for those people, I mean, I don't know. I just hope that they can find a way or a resource or something or someone to talk to help them in that journey or that process of understanding that you have to just sort of strip down some layers and strip down your ego and not necessarily just go, because there's a financial aspect to it, which is very difficult. But I mean, that literally was me, right? I just grew up in Vancouver. I never lived anywhere outside of Vancouver. Nobody in Vancouver really looks like me. Vancouver's 1% black, right? And we talked about that too. Like, honestly, I got to give Heath a lot of credit because when we first met, right, I was still, I don't want to say like westernized or whatever, but like my eyes were not open how they are now. Like even when I go home, they go, "Emmy, you've changed," and I'm like, "Yeah,
damn right,
I know."
What's this up?
Like, yeah, I mean, I had to change because I was living in a bubble, a very comfortable bubble. And I'm not saying that Vancouver's racist in any way, but there is racism there. And a lot of it I either ignored because I felt I didn't have support, like from 1%, right? The spaces I was working with were predominantly non-black, right? The students I were teaching, like none of them looked like me. And again, those aren't bad things, but it sort of creates like this this bubble or this protective thing around you where it's like you're surrounded by people who don't look like you. Like you have to sort of like suppress your blackness. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't say certain things. I had to laugh and giggle at certain jokes which were not funny at all. You know what I mean? And sometimes like I would crack a couple jokes like almost at myself just so they wouldn't say, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, you know? Eminem
had to do that, remember?
Yeah, and...
if you say it first, they can't say it about you.
Yeah, exactly.
You've taken the power out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not... That's not cool. So now, like, again, to go back and tell you how you helped me a lot is that Heath, like, we talked about it a lot. I remember he told me, what type of, women are you dating? And we had a conversation about that. And, we talked about what sort of music are you listening to? Have you been to Nigeria? All these things, all these questions about like myself and identity that I just either just refuse to answer or I just sort of, I can talk about that later. But you really helped me just sort of bring that out. And these are things that I'm still a work in progress, man.
All of us are, man.
Like,
Yeah.
to be honest, like, we talk about deprogramming and reprogramming. I'm literally trying to deprogram myself from a lot of the things that I've heard, learned, seen, that were put out there, not to sort of distract me or to disarm me or whatever, but it's just like, a lot of those things that I've learned and believed weren't really empowering me, even though I thought that they were, right?
It's powerful.
Yeah, that's a major thing. It's still a thing. Yeah.
That's stress, even though we don't know it's stress at the time because we're living in the situation. Now that you're looking back at it, like you're saying, like certain things you had to laugh off or not even discuss really. Yeah, like, oh right, you know, what kind of girls did I date? And now you're like, why? Because that's what was around you.
Right.
That's what was available. And like, you know, like a lot of different things about side, like, you know, who your friends were, et cetera, et cetera. I think that a lot of us grow up in that once we now are in a more open situation, your mind is more open because now you're traveling and now you're a global, like, you know, global citizen.
Yeah.
And like you said, you know, going back home to Nigeria, I know my eyes opened a lot when I went to, you know, to Africa for the first time, went to Kenya.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, this is what it should be like.
Right.
I felt free in my mind, like inside, that I could like say and do like, you know, what I wanted to do without having to walk on eggshells around people almost, you know what I mean? So
Yeah, that's it. That's still my experience. So yeah, I can absolutely relate.
You know, it's amazing, and I can speak personally and tell a story, but I won't even go down that road. I'll just say this. When you start to respect your lineage, who you are, you start to see your people is way more beautiful than you ever thought. When you start to really respect your blackness, your tribe, your culture, your African lineage, then when you're on some type of social media, you open up a magazine, you see someone on TV, you can be like, wow, she's fine, and everybody's looking at you like, she's all right. And you're like, nah,
You see something.
You don't
I
understand.
see something different, something real deep in that human being. It could be male or female, by the way. You know what I mean? I see, when I was in Ghana, I saw some of the most gorgeous men. You know what I mean? I was like, look at these brothers. You know, I had to work out. You know what I mean? Like, these brothers,
Get back in the gym.
Yeah, because I love them. You know what I mean? I love where I was at. So
Absolutely.
it just took me to another level.
The respect thing it was huge for me because when I was in Nigeria, like my dad flew here to Dubai, and he had a quick layover, and then he flew out, 12, 15 hours before I did. Then I got on the plane after. But in terms of respect, like my parents, my dad, my mom, that's a beast. Crazy.
See that?
When I'm telling you, when people show a man respect, like when we're walking through the village, like my dad hadn't been there in, I don't know how long, but he's running into people he hadn't seen in 20 years, 30 years, and it was just like respect. And they call him Oga, which means like boss. Wherever he goes, hey Oga, how are you? I'm just like, man, who's that? He's like,
right.
He just walks around, he's got a little beret, hat on, he's just smooth, like he dresses sharp. I'm just like, man, he is the actual man. And like just seeing like where his life literally started to where my life started. I'm like, this is where you came from?
Right.
Well, how much money? And you created 4 kids who've all gone to university, who all played varsity sports in college. This is what you did? And my mom, obviously.
So I'm sure, how many times did you want to slap the 16, 17-year-old Emmy?
A lot.
Like I can't believe I looked at my dad.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
know,
like what's
right?
he talking about? Man, do this. I'm like, man, come on.
Well, it's always if you only knew then what you know now.
Right. I have no regret. I mean, I have a couple life regrets, but totally unrelated to, my upbringing. But yeah, it's unbelievable, like the growth. It's funny too because I'm starting to look like my dad. Like if I shave this beard, I look like Alajemba Ruben Unaegbu. It's crazy. Like we have like the same like smile and the same like face shape. Like we look like twins. It's insane. I just remember, in terms of how Nigerians just their kids and upbringing and all this stuff. I'm like, man, this is some nonsense. Growing up, I can't go to this party. I can't do this. I can't have no girlfriends. I can't, you know what I mean? But I guess everything they do is for a reason.
Yeah.
And it's their way of doing things. I'm not a parent, so I can't speak on it, but I don't think my parents were strict when I was growing up, but there definitely was structure. There were expectations. And I knew there were certain things that I could get away with, and certain things I could absolutely not get away with.
Right.
Because the threat of we're going to put you on a boat and send you to Nigeria was like a real threat.
I've heard that
I mean, I
before.
thought it was a threat.
He said a boat.
Yeah, a boat. I was just like, first class Emirates? No. We're going to put you on a boat and we're going to show you.
You know, I've heard that before from somebody else saying that their parents would threaten them that we're going to send you back to Nigeria.
Yeah.
And like a Nigerian brother as well. See, again, that's
I mean, it's
kind of
funny.
conditioning.
I
Like,
don't
why
want-
is that a bad thing?
Right, I don't want to cut you off. I'm like, now I keep thinking, I'm like, man, I should have been.
I should have. I should have went back.
When I was like, 15.
Right.
That would have been dope.
Yeah.
Yeah. Knowing what I know now. Yeah. I should have taken it seriously. Like, let me let me skip school. You gonna send me? What do I need to do?
Right.
Yeah.
Act up a bit more. So you did mention the scholastic sports and all that. Like, how has that affected your life journey? Playing
Sports?
playing sports at a high level.
Yeah, I guess sports has been a pretty major thing for me, which is interesting. I grew up like basketball. Like everyone's like, "Oh, Emmy, he plays basketball." Like basketball is really like my last choice.
Right.
I don't really love basketball. I'm trying to think if there was a point in my life where I loved basketball. I'm passionate about sports. I'm passionate about competing, but I love soccer, football. That was like my first love. Growing up in Vancouver, we played floor hockey, road hockey, ice hockey, volleyball, and then by the time I got to about grade 9-ish is when I really started growing. Grade 8, grade 9, then I'm like, okay, well, basketball, I could try this out, right?
It surprised me when you told me that years ago about playing hockey.
Yeah.
Because we know Canada, hockey, right?
Yeah.
But the black kids are playing hockey in Canada.
Mhm.
I didn't think about that.
My brother, you know Tim, my brother
Yeah,
Tim.
yeah.
To be honest, like everyone's like, oh, Emmy's basketball, he's tall, this and this. I'm really not even the best athlete in my family. Real talk. I'm more of like a specialist, like in terms of basketball, and I played American football in college, in university. But like my brother is extremely athletic,
He is.
and he's really really good at multiple sports: roller
Right.
hockey, baseball, tennis. Everything. And both my sisters both played university volleyball. My sister Ruth is
Wow.
a freak athlete.
Yeah,
She can jump higher than me.
bodybuilder now.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the
She-
genes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the genes. That's Mother Africa again. You
Mhm.
know, putting her 2 cents in.
And I think maybe the reason why, I appreciated basketball and I respect it because it's opened a lot of doors. It saved our family a lot of money, right, in terms of scholarships
Right.
and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
But the thing about that is that with my parents, they were very, very supportive. Like my dad would be going to 3 or 4 different sporting events for his 4 kids, and my mom as well. Actually, she never really wanted to come watch me play football, American football. She's like, "Oh, we're gonna break your leg."
So you didn't get hurt. Right.
Oh,
Right.
it's ironic.
It's
Maybe we'll
violent.
talk about that later. But they're so supportive, but there was no pressure to perform. Like my mom doesn't know what a triple double is.
Right.
She never asked, "Hey, how many points did you average?" They don't care about that.
Right.
They just cared about like education. They cared about church. They cared about me respecting people. And if you can throw a basketball in the hoop and be okay at it, yeah, it's cool too.
you're having fun.
Yeah, just make sure you finish your homework.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
Right.
that's how it was.
That's awesome. It's very grounding that
Yeah.
they used it in that sense.
Yeah.
And now that you're here, you play basketball professionally.
Yeah, I had an opportunity to play last year as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I played a few months, and then
Second team, man.
yeah, this is my second team. The first team released me, but
That happens.
yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, they released me about 4 months into the season last year in December, which I was okay with, to be honest, because my knees were screaming. Like my knees were swollen. I couldn't even walk up and down. I had to go down the stairs like sideways when I was
Wow.
at work because my body was just not responding well to it last year.
What's the average age in these leagues?
It depends. Like I'm not even the oldest guy on my team. I mean, I'm 37 now. We got a couple guys who are about 38-ish.
Okay.
But we also got a guy on my team who's 20. Like he's
Right.
born in like,
Or the majority mid-20s?
yeah, mid to late 20s, I would say.
So you're a veteran. You're like
Oh, Ben.
Yeah, you're
Ben.
a
Like you can tell I'm a veteran, but just by the way I warm up. Like I got my bands, I got my rolly thing, I got my I got everything. Yeah, you can smell me coming too because I got
Icy
the
hot.
icy hot and everything. So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a
getting
veteran.
ready to play and practice it's a production, but yeah, I mean, I'm still there. So.
Right.
But basketball is becoming such a global thing. You know, I think we were talking earlier about NBA Africa.
Yeah.
Whereas sure, like when we were growing up, we saw like the rare player being straight up from Africa, like Manute Bol or like Hakeem Olajuwon, you know, et cetera. Yeah, Dikembe Mutombo, of course, you know, the finger. And that was like, oh yeah, you know, guys from Africa. You know, again, because like we're so self-deprecating as a people.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like, oh right, I want to know that brother's life experience. Right. You know, so I think that's a positive move that now that's actually being embraced.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a few guys in the league now who were products of the NBA's, what's it called? Basketball Without Borders, I think it is.
Yeah.
Like Joel Embiid and
developmental.
Siakam, I think they're both from Cameroon. Like they're literally going there running camps and just handpicking guys who look promising. They're going to the States playing Division I ball, and they're sending, just funneling guys to the league. I mean, because, like I said, like when I was in Nigeria, I saw you guys, but I also saw Manute Bols, I saw LeBron's, I saw Westbrook's just walking around on a motorcycle, just chilling. I'm like,
just living some other life, and it's like, do you know your cousin plays NBA basketball?
We were in the village with my dad, and we're just going down to. He was just sort of taking me just down like a little trip down memory lane. Sorry, places where he used to hang out as a kid.
Right.
And we're walking down this little path just to this little river where there's a bunch of kids playing, and there's this one man who's about your height, and he was just laying bricks, right?
That means short, by the way, people. That means short. I like how he said that.
He's about your height, your stature, right? Yeah, your stature. And bro, this brother looked like Adrian Peterson.
Really?
Like ripped.
Right.
And I'm like, he's probably never lifted a weight in his life.
Naturally.
Like his body was unbelievable. I was just like, huh?
Yeah.
It was that's Africa, man. Like the bodies, the minds, like everything about that place is not what people.
Yeah, there's a resiliency culturally.
Yes.
Because of what they've had, you know, we've had to overcome, right? You're talking about him being a bricklayer, right? He doesn't have some of the materials and tools that make his job easier,
Right.
okay? And there's a book talking about the Asian culture. It's not the book about the Asian culture. It's a chapter in the book, and I think it's called Outliers or Tipping Point. I forget which Gladwell book it is. But they talked about, the chapter is titled Asians, Rice Paddies, and Math Tests. And Gladwell ties the discipline it takes to maintain a rice paddy, as far as the leveling, the water, the whatever, the pH, whatever, and how they think in school and on math tests and in chemistry.
It's all related.
He related it. And it was brilliant how he did it.
That's dope, yeah.
But it was cultural.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah, so when you think Kenya runners, Ethiopian runners, you know, okay, I don't need shoes.
Right.
I just know I got to get over here quick, you know, and they just train. I mean, it's different, man.
Yeah.
You know, think about not having the resources and doing better than people with the resources.
Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah. And so you got NBA players that came from hardly anything. And they, you know, Mutombo's a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely, he is. Olajuwon.
Olajuwon, come on, like Olajuwon, one of the top,
best,
they're like top 50 players ever. Of course.
Yeah. He's still top 50, top 30 probably.
For sure.
Even better than that.
Yeah, with not as much privilege. So.
And you know, a lot of those like those runners, for instance, like they'll say out of necessity, like education got them a certain place, whereas they had to get to school, which happens to be X amount of miles away. So they had to run and get up before the sun and all that. And then like people are like, oh right, you know, like you're actually good at that. And this can get you successful in life if you just do X, Y, Z.
Amazing.
Again, with like the sports program, like for Africa, I would say that if we just leverage the talents that we have and actually own that, yeah, instead of just the NBA, for instance, like, you know, just like to like, you know, like pick on like one professional organization, I would say, I don't know if there's a word, a level below exploitation. But I'm not really trying to hate on them like hard, but instead of them exploiting our athletes, if we had a program that actually did that kind of exchange and the home countries benefit from this.
Yeah, I mean,
especially in football.
It's
in soccer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That France team.
Right?
Yeah.
Come on, there was 9 Africans on
And
the
then
team.
and then look at this. Look even deeper at that. They encourage those players to now feel like you're European,
Yeah.
you're American. You went to school here. Why would you want to go back there?
Right.
We
And they don't
rescued
play
you out
for
of a
their
certain kind of
national
life.
team, do they? Some of them?
Some of the,
Some of the African players that play on those teams,
like the French teams?
Football-wise.
like
Yeah.
Olympics and things like that, do they play for their home country, or do they have a French passport?
Right.
They
So
have a French passport.
So they
yeah.
don't even go back home and play
I don't
during.
believe so.
Well, of the players on the French team, most of them were born in France.
Right. Yeah, I don't think they're like.
Yeah, most of them were
immigrating
born in
over.
France. Yeah.
So it's like me playing for Team Canada, for example. Yeah.
But like when it comes to some guys that play in like let's say the Bundesliga or a Premier League, when it comes time for World Cup, then they would play for their.
They do.
Yeah. Then
So
they would
some
play for
guys-
their national team.
Yeah, but like you're saying, but some guys also, like if you've been playing in France for 3 or 4 years or whatever, I mean, some basketball guys do this as well. They seek
Dual citizenship.
dual citizenship. in
My
basketball,
friends.
and they play for that.
Yeah, I have a friend from Pittsburgh. Shout out to J.R. Holden. He's one of the guys that I mentioned in the Going Global book. And he, from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, went to college in Pennsylvania, played in 3 or 4 countries, but his longevity or whatever was in Russia. He played 9 years. In 2007, right before the 2008 Olympics, Vladimir Putin gave him dual citizenship. He played in the Olympics, like a true black Russian. He played, he played in the Olympics for Russia. Exactly, yeah. So, yeah. So to this day, he's a dual citizen. And he actually led the Olympics in scoring.
Yeah, because I think even a couple guys who are playing out here who used to play in Lebanon, I think some of them have dual citizenship still out there.
What country are they from?
States.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe so. I don't know. I don't want to mention names or just assume, but that's sort of what I've heard. Guys who have played overseas in this area, they've
Okay.
been able to get.
Let's personalize this. In like the height of your playing days, if you were able to, and let's say you had Nigerian citizenship then,
Right.
and Vancouver citizenship, you're Canadian, and you had the choice of playing for whoever, and you were at Olympic level, and they say, Emmy, who are you going to play
Oh,
for?
it's a good question. At the height of my playing days, who would I play for? I mean,
So ability, everything is there. You would start, etc., and you have both options on the table.
to be honest, I would think about my best chance of winning because I just like to compete and win. So that's probably what I would base it on. To be honest. I mean, like, so for example, like, I'm not deflecting the question, but yeah, I would just want to win. That'd be my main thing. Like, I don't think, like Hakeem Olajuwon, again, we're talking about him. He played on the U.S. Olympic team,
Yeah.
gold medal winning team, right? And he definitely had Nigerian citizenship. Nigerian basketball now is the best team in Africa. So I think
Okay.
it might have been a little bit different back then, but
I think the only good team outside America then was Croatia.
yeah.
In Argentina.
Like decent. Yeah. I think Argentina could play.
Yeah, back then. But yeah, so he played for the U.S. Olympic team, and I'm pretty sure he had that decision to make. So maybe I'm not sure what he based it
Interesting.
But they
on.
might not have qualified for the Olympics. Naturally.
True, but just competing with the national team on any sort of non-Olympic.
Yeah,
Just like the
competition.
pride, like pride level, just say
Yeah.
I'm playing for my country.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I would just play with the team that gave me the best chance of winning. That's probably be my mindset at that time, at the height of my.
I have a question, and this kind of ties in. Since going to Nigeria twice, to your father's hometown, and just getting
And my mother's.
and your mother, right, mom and dad, submerged in the culture, knowing more who you are, where you came from, all of that. Do you consider yourself Canadian or Nigerian?
I'm Nigerian. Yeah, and that's
Wow.
really it. I was born in Canada. I have a Canadian passport. I'm Canadian, but I'm also Nigerian. I feel, just being in the country, I feel way more connected.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And that was something that was missing, right? I didn't know how to, I think in order to make that connection here and here, I had to make the physical connection.
Right.
I had to literally get on the plane and land and put my feet on the ground and just be submerged by Nigeria and Nigerians, and people who look like me, people who sound totally different than me, right? But 100% I'm Nigerian, for sure. That's without question.
That's dope.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I can answer that confidently now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
To be honest, before it used to be like, "Are you Nigerian?" Yeah, I'm Nigerian, but but I'm Canadian. I was born in Canada, right? It was just like, yeah, I'm Nigerian, but like, hey, bro, like I'm also Canadian. Like, accept me, you know? Make me feel,
Right.
That's literally what it is, and it takes a while to sort of break that down about being proud of where you're born, the culture that you're born into, but also understanding where you are from, right?
Yeah.
And that's always been a really uncomfortable conversation for me. I think I'm speaking for people who have cousins and siblings.
What was interesting is as you were talking and I start thinking, I was listening, but of course I would start thinking about Jamaican American, right? African American, right?
Right.
The whole diaspora has probably a different way to answer that question.
Yeah, I mean, there's...
Right? We all have a different way that we feel towards that question because of Haiti, Jamaica, Bahamas, Brazil, Cuba, Black Brits from all across the continent. We all have a different experience.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. But I also think that...
nobody's going to answer the question the same.
No, and I also think maybe some of the hesitation I had before is because, like, I feel like you can be Canadian born and you can be Nigerian. You don't, just because you're claiming one side doesn't mean you're, denying the other side.
But the feeling, though.
But that's,
Okay, so let me clarify. Me, I was in Ghana, right? I saw maybe I'm, Nigerian, Ghanaian, but America, I've never been called an American in America.
No, there's always a double-barreled.
I just never been called American. I've been called an American here 1,000 times, but I've never been called an American in America.
Right.
So
it's always African American.
Or black, or
Black.
some derogatory, right? So black, hardly even African American.
Right.
I mean, think about
unless it's in a professional setting.
Think about those applications, like check a box. What are you?
Yeah.
I don't know. They still do that. They still do it.
Yeah, they still do it, and they've added some. I think there might be multiracial, and there's also what is that, right?
There's more options now, but it's still
exactly But it's all these social constructs, and then. But I'm talking about the people in Canada. Have you been called Canadian in Canada?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So the acceptance was there.
I mean, it's there, and like Canadian people, even worldwide, are known as polite people and accepting people, and it's a very multicultural country. It's very accepting, very tolerant, very patient, things like that as well. Like, I remember when my parents were deciding where to move, it came down to either Houston, Texas, which has a humongous Nigerian population, or Vancouver. And my parents prayed about it, and they told them Vancouver, so we went to Vancouver. But
Man, you just shot at Beyonce, man.
I did. I think we're around the same age too. I think she's 37, 38.
Yeah.
That was my chance. But you never know.
Okay. Well.
There's other plans for me. So.
Yeah. Becky's in Vancouver.
Lots of Beckys.
Yeah.
There are. But
So about tolerance, like you mentioned.
good water.
No, that's milk.
I don't even drink milk anymore.
Oh boy. About tolerance, you mentioned that for Canada. Growing up in America, we always say Canada's like the light version of America, like it's America light, and people are so nice there and this kind of thing. Like these are our conceptions of it.
Right.
But then when I saw these things coming out about Trudeau with the blackface thing twice,
yes,
I was kind of like,
well, it was more than twice.
What? That's just his thing.
That was, no, multiple times.
Yeah, multiple times.
was
do you-
interesting.
Like, what do you think about that? And what do you think about his excuse for it? Just saying that, sometimes, I think he said anyone that knows me knows that I like to dress up,
Right.
and maybe sometimes I go overboard a bit.
I get one of these. Really?
Right.
You didn't know what you were doing?
Well, honestly, my thing about that, I've had conversations with friends of mine and other people who are still living at home about that whole thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people are very forgiving, and I was. It's not that I understood it, but I was kind of like, okay. He came out and he apologized for it. Some of these apologies are just so empty, whatever. I'm not okay with the act. It's racist. A lot of people would be like, oh, he was younger. No, bro, he was like 30, and he was teaching kids, right? So there is no excuse for that. And it wasn't a mistake either, because excuse me, he did it multiple times, and his neck was
Even.
his hands and he had ripped jeans and his knees were back. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, okay,
Yeah, it was deliberate.
fool me once, fool me once. Sorry, but when he came out, he's like, it was racist. He's like, it was a racist act. I'm not okay with it, but if he can go out and say that, I'm like, okay. I mean, I still think you're racist and inappropriate, but I mean, what are you gonna do? I honestly didn't think. I think it would be a bigger deal in the States, perhaps, just because of the.
Wouldn't that be normal?
Yeah, it'd be
Politicians.
Right, how many congressmen are-
I just kind of think of maybe would the repercussions be bigger in the States, or would it be just more?
No.
I don't know.
They go to the podium, they apologize. Sometimes they don't even do that, right? Or they issue a statement,
Right.
and then we forget about it. Something else happens.
Yeah, but I mean, because the thing for Canadians, I always even in my group chat with my friends at home, I was just like, you know what? This is maybe Canada's just more forgiving, or maybe just more unaware of what racism really, really is and how destructive it is. We don't really talk about slavery in Canada. We don't. But it existed.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
yes.
Underground Railroad, all that stuff, going through Nova Scotia and all those sort of things. And even the way,
Rest in peace, Rocky Johnson.
Yeah.
He just died.
oh, really?
He just died.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Nova Scotia.
But even the way, indigenous people are treated in
Oh, wow,
Canada
yeah.
right now, very, they're just, it's
Straight
brutal.
disrespectful, yeah.
Straight disrespectful, almost like they're not even people. So, I mean, there's racism everywhere, you know? And I think Canada sometimes just gets a pass when it really shouldn't, right? These are still issues, and these are people, and these are things that should be addressed. But
I believe until
you know?
recently the UK was getting a pass because America is so
That's so true.
overt.
Overt about it, yeah.
Then these other
Yeah.
cultures or these other countries, or they can sit back and just have structural racism,
Right.
And just have systemic racism, and not call you by out and shoot you down in the streets, but you're still going to stay down here, and we're still going to stay here, right? And that's Canada. So we're nice,
yeah, for sure.
but you're not running anything, or you're not going to be in the parliament, or what's their
Yeah, Parliament.
right? Yeah,
Or be the Canadian
there is-
Prime
yeah,
Minister.
You're not gonna, don't even think about that. So
There is more representation from minority groups in the Canadian government now.
bro, how many minority, how many black people are in Canada? I think 1 million or something. Like that.
In Canada?
Yeah.
I don't know how many people are in the country now, 36 million?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anymore. But I mean, it really just depends on the city that you go to. There's pockets of black people, here and there. But I think the biggest population of black people is probably Toronto, or even Nova Scotia, even farther east. Vancouver, not as much. Again, Vancouver as a city, 1%. And then the farther east you go, the colder you get. But at least in Toronto, there's a large African population, Caribbean population, and then even farther east, even into Montreal and Nova Scotia on that side of the country. So we're there.
Yeah.
How often is Africa talked about in Canada? Because I know, with America, we had
In school?
just in school, Black History Month, we have all these things in America that, because of the legacy of slavery, we grew up hearing these things, and even had a Black Pride movement you know, like in our lifetime that we can remember, you know, and like, you know, certain artists that like, you know, really big this up, like Public Enemy, etc.
Yeah.
Like did Canada have like a movement of this kind of thing?
Yeah, even Million Man March. It's just,
Like Black Panthers and like so and so.
Not that I know of.
Right.
I mean, I didn't really learn anything about Black history or
African
history
Yeah.
in school. Definitely, 100%. No.
slavery.
Like, no. Our history, like, we learned a lot about, like, American history and, you know, like, slavery through how it was presented to, you know, all of us and, you know, the books and how they just sort of clean things up a bit. But, no, I mean, Black History Month is a thing in Canada. But,
It is?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's different events and celebrations and all that sort of stuff. And so that's something that's observed every month. But, I mean, I've been out of the country for almost 5 years now. But I think just having those conversations, even the whole Trudeau thing, right? Social media has changed everything.
Right.
Right? Because now, it was just, I mean, I got Instagram, I think 2013, something like that. But all of these conversations that we've had within the last, you know, 3-4 years of, you know, Trayvon and all these other
Black Lives Matter
people,
kind of,
Black Lives
yeah.
Matter, like, pretty much people look like me and you just getting gunned down for no reason as we're going away from, anyways, I'm not going to get there. But those conversations weren't really happening, you know, even like 6-7 years ago when I was living at home. Now that social media is out, like you can just go online, there's videos, like you can't ignore it. So I just feel like people are way more aware of it now. And I'm kind of curious about the dynamic of how I would feel, not just feel, but how I would accept and express my opinions about stuff like this if I was still living in Vancouver. You know what I mean? I think the fact that I was able to, just the fact that I removed myself from there and, you know, planted myself here, I feel way more, I'm not sure if it's comfortable, but just way more confident being confident about myself, about what I look like, and the things that are important to me.
Right and wrong.
Right and wrong, yeah, because that's what it is, right? I have really deep conversations with some really good friends of mine back home. We got a group chat, and we talk about all this stuff, and everything is done with respect. Like, we don't necessarily agree on everything, but we can have a conversation, and then when I go home in the summer, we can go have a drink, go for dinner.
Right.
And it's black and white friends?
Yeah.
Do you find that some of them are in denial? In regards to the societal structures that are in place and the white supremacy.
That's the thing. Like, white supremacy is a very difficult word to utter when you're living in Canada for some reason, because
it exists.
you grow because it exists, but B, sometimes you just don't want to disrupt your nice, comfortable situation, right? Like, if I'm at home, I don't fear that if I'm walking in downtown Vancouver and there's police officers over there, that they're going to shoot me. You know what I mean? In Vancouver. I don't feel that way. I feel like I'm there. I'm included. I'm part of the society, whatever. But there are some times where, you know, you get the wake-up call, right?
Yeah.
That, okay, yeah, you can live here. You're with us, but you're not, you know. But, no, and it's a very difficult thing to talk about, because it kind of disrupts your entire being. You know what I mean? Yeah, like we talk about playing hockey growing up, right? I never played for like a real ice hockey team, but you hear about some of these horror stories of some of these black athletes who grew up in Canada, called Canadians, who literally have bananas thrown at them,
Right.
and they're called this and
Being
that
hazed,
as
yeah.
they're playing. You know what I mean?
So what you're describing is extremism,
Right.
right? Hate crimes, harm to black people. But you mean to tell me in Vancouver, not Canada, but in the city of Vancouver, or in that chat that you guys are there's people who will say that white supremacy doesn't exist?
Not necessarily that.
Because if there's 1% of the population
Right.
is African immigrants or Caribbean immigrants or whatever, that's telling there
Right.
that there's
No,
not
for sure.
there's not a
Yeah.
migration to that area.
It's the numbers.
People-
The
the numbers
tell
show
you,
it that we're not. There's no jobs, or there's no resources, or there's no opportunities. There's gaps in that. You know, I mean, there's some parallels in all of this, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. It's all about if people up north in Canada or in the UK want to acknowledge some of the things that are going on. Because it's not as,
Prevalent.
yeah.
It's not as
It's a smaller
blatant.
population.
In your face,
It's not-
yeah.
it's not- it's-
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's there, but it's not
definitely
as blatant, right? We just, a lot of people just say, I'm happy to be Canadian. Oh, good thing, I'm born in Canada.
Right.
At least I'm not American.
At least that's what I'm saying.
They got a lot of problems down there.
Yeah. Like, whew, good thing we're in Canada. True to an extent, but I'm not as confident thinking like I'm that different. Because if I drive my car and go across into Washington State, they're not, hey, he's Canadian, it's not going to affect him. Like, it's
Exactly.
same thing can happen to me.
And would they even see you as Canadian?
No.
And like, right?
Right.
Or
And so what-
Nigerian. Don't
Right.
care. Right.
Right. What I mean by that is like, for instance, when I tell people here that like, I don't say American, but they're like, oh yeah, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I grew up in New York. They're like, yeah, but where are you really from? And then when I say, the Caribbean and West Indies, they have the whole cricket thing, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, great. Yeah, where in Africa is that? So they still don't even like relate. Like to them, Africa, black person, Africa.
Yeah.
When you say that you grew up somewhere, it's like really like bugs their mind out. So yeah, the whole Canada thing. I'm sure like even like going across the line, like you're saying, just to Washington State, a white American isn't going to be like, oh yeah, he's Canadian.
Right.
It's like, no,
That's right.
you're black.
Start speaking,
Right.
and then they kind of figure it out. You're not from here, right? Where you from?
Really.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a different dialect.
Oh, yeah. I get it all the time. Yeah.
All right, so I got a big one for you guys. Would you rather?
We playing this game?
The would you rather game. So would you rather deal with racism or deal with corruption? In terms of that regular topic that people are just always having to confront in your country, wherever it is, yeah? Would you rather deal with racism all the time or deal with corruption all the time, and how to get around either one to just live your life?
A lot of it kind of goes hand in hand, in a sense.
Well, I'll tell you where I'm coming from with that question. So, living in the West, be it be the U.S., U.K., et cetera, people have their different levels of racism, like wherever they are, like we're saying with Canada, et cetera. Or, in Africa, most people are talking about, oh yeah, this would change, but corruption, man, the government. So it's like, we all have our gripes about something in our society, but which one would you rather deal with on a regular basis? I know my answer, that I feel like I would rather deal with corruption, because
Right.
if we get together, there's a way around that.
So you prefer corruption?
I prefer,
And work through it.
yeah.
I think I'm the opposite, now that you ask me.
Because like having to fight for just who you are.
Right.
Because no one is just like innately corrupt.
Okay, so here's a
You
question.
grow to
Sorry.
be that, but we are like, we
Yeah.
are who we are.
So if you're dealing, okay, I'll accept the racism as long as we can work with the corruption. Does that mean that you're still afforded the same? Actually no. It's tough because I'm saying because if there's racism, then that is not just I don't like you because of what you look like. It's like I can affect your pocketbook. I can affect whether you can get a loan. I can affect your house, right? So maybe, but then again, so say we can deal with corruption. I prefer to deal with corruption. Then those different structures from racism are those out the window because corruption kind of just brings those things back in, right?
Well,
Like in Nigeria, like it's not as corrupt as people think, but there are major levels of corruption starting with the government, and that affects the people. Like the wealth disparity in Nigeria is like
it's huge.
There's a lot. Like Nigeria is a rich country, which is what people don't realize, right?
Yeah.
It's very, and there's certain areas in that country you're just like, holy smokes, like
Wow.
you're driving that. This is
Absolutely.
credit?
You know you're speaking of every African
Right,
country, the wealth
right.
disparity. In every
So
country, look at the U.S.
I would rather that change than racism change. Like racism, I kind of know not my lane, but I know, like I like overt racism if I had to have it anyway. You know what I mean? I don't like the microaggressions. I don't like the sneaky stuff. You know what I mean? I would rather, because that way you just know exactly who you're dealing with. You know what I mean?
Except for the barrel, looking at a barrel of a gun.
Yeah, aside from that.
Yeah.
Right?
See, I guess
But
where I'm
if,
coming-
I don't like you because you look like a Smith.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know I can go here, I can do this, I can feel comfortable here. Yes, that's it.
I guess where I'm coming from with it is that I feel like I can work my way out of poverty based on what I know and just like, how you manage to maneuver in life. You can't work your way out of who you are, and like, not that you'd want to anyway, but like, we're black people, period.
Right.
So
Bro, that is a good question.
that's what I mean by that.
Because I feel like I would want to jump back and forth, because being
But
in
you
Nigeria
can't.
a couple
It's this or
times-
this.
Yeah, I know. But being in Nigeria, right, and just seeing the levels of corruption, it's
It feels insurmountable, right?
yeah,
It's so
yeah.
big.
So I mean, just finding ways to work with that and try to end it or remedy it would be a bigger deal for me.
And I guess that's that's a big question. What I wanted to end with, just the fact that you are a son of immigrants,
Yeah.
but now you've discovered home, and now you have that option. Now that you're an
Yeah.
adult, you can say, all right, now I'm gonna live in Nigeria, live in Africa, or I'm gonna live in Vancouver. Like, this is up to you now.
Yeah.
And like, these are the two challenges that you might have to face, either this here or that there. So, I mean, I guess something like, we all have to answer now that we see like things like the year of return,
Yeah,
people
and
are
we
going
talked
back.
about
and-
that, and we talked about him going back to Vancouver, and of course, it's out of the question for me to go back to Pittsburgh if I don't have to. But if I had, if it took me to Pittsburgh, how am I going to adjust?
Right.
Coming from here and coming from all the places I've been around the world.
Right.
And we talked about that with you going back to Vancouver.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, even when I go home in the summer, it's not that things are changing, but I feel like I've changed.
You've
a
changed,
lot.
absolutely.
So seeing so many, seeing just like even going to certain restaurants that I used to go to and just be like, well, comfortable, no problem.
Da-da-da-da.
Now I walk in there, I'm just like, I'm the only black person in this whole place.
You start to notice these
But
things.
how can I
Yeah.
maneuver? How can I feel
Right.
comfortable still?
Yeah, we were taught to act as a chameleon and assimilate and code switch and all that other
Blend in.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then when you find out, when you really have knowledge of self, you're like, hold on, this is crazy. Like, I'm really the only black person
Yeah,
here.
the only one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, we're not marketing to anybody else.
And I mean, that's the thing. But it's not even like an uncomfortable feeling. It's just an awareness now.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. I know that. Okay. They notice me. I know that when I walk in, I'm 6'4.5", that I'm being looked at or whatever it is, and it's not in any sort of negative whatever. But I remember even just 5-6 years ago when I would walk into the same restaurants, movie theater, I was just like, everything's cool.
I'm just another Canadian.
Just
But now you're a black
guy.
Canadian.
Yeah. Right. It's
Like,
just-
you like,
yeah. But yeah. And it's just good to have that awareness.
Yeah.
And not in any sort of.
Man, we went all over the place, but I'm happy we had this
Yeah,
conversation,
absolutely.
man. Because it opened my eyes up. You said some things, even though I know Emmy really well, and we have some really intimate conversations about everything over the past 5 years. I learned a lot, man. Really.
Likewise, man.
Yeah.
And no, I appreciate you guys bringing me on. Like I said, I was waiting for the call, man. I'm out here subscribing, I'm liking, I'm sending the link to the fellas.
see, that's just like a sports player preparing for the combine. It's like, I'm waiting for the call. I'm ready, coach.
I'm playing.
Okay,
I've been
but here's
ready.
the thing.
I've
Okay,
been ready.
we don't have the waiting for the call draft hat,
Cool,
but you got the Global Brothers.
and
Yes,
this is going
yes.
straight home today.
Okay,
Here
all
we
right.
go.
All right,
Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much.
Welcome to the team, brother. Welcome to the team, the global team.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Appreciate it.
And as we always say at this time, live global and prosper.
Sir.
Check us out on YouTube, Global Brothers Podcast, and please subscribe and share and, continue to support, good content.
Mr. Worldwide.